And you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you this morning?
Very well, thank you for asking. How are you?
Well, I'm good, but I was just on my Twitter and I was watching everybody tweeting about spring, and I'm here in Goose Bay and it's snowing kind of thick right now, so I think spring is not really up on us here yet. But I guess somebody is getting the flowers blooming.
Well, I don't know. There's not much blooming here. It's freezing in town. Another snowstorm coming, so we're not really feeling very springish today either.
No, of course not. My call this morning, of course, is about a couple of issues. This past week, I was able to meet with three of the Provincial Cabinet Ministers on a whole bunch of issues from Labrador, a lot of it doing with transportation, with IT, and, of course, to deal with people that have been displaced from jobs, the Muskrat Falls project, and, roads, water and sewer, all the things that are important. There's so many issues to get into, but there is a couple of things that I did want to talk about this morning. And one of them is the fact that the government has still not come forward with an RFP decision on the RFP for the marine services in Labrador.
Right.
And this is an ongoing issue going back now, I think, 4 years for sure, when the first RFPs were being put out and then changed and withdrawn and changed and so on. And we were given a commitment that come 2016, we would have a new vessel in the northern region of Labrador for freight and passengers, and we would have a new vessel on the Strait of Belle Isle that was able to operate on a year-round basis. So it's not going to happen. In my discussion with the minister, he alluded to me and said that the most optimistic date that we can look at right now is going to be early in 2018. So we're pushing this out at least a year, maybe more than a year, before we're going to see any delivery on service. So that's beyond 2016. And there's a lot of concerns here because there was three bidders for the service. One of them was a Inuit group of companies, the Nunatziavut group of companies, through their service, Labrador Marine. And there were two other bidders, one other that was a Labrador-based company and another company in the province. So we had three provincial companies that were bidding, and unfortunately and disappointingly, it was the Nunatziavut Marine proposal that is not on the short list for review. And there is a commitment by the government that any time that they're providing services in Nunatziavut, that they would be looking at Nunatziavut-owned or partnership companies. So there has been some pushback on that issue, and the government is maintaining that it's all one contract, so it's not just Nunatziavut. But this is where I have some issue. The problem right now with the RFP is that the government omitted to include two key components on the Strait of Belle Isle ferry service. One was to include the horsepower required for the vessel to operate in that area, especially in winter. You're pushing ice. And two, that it would be an ice-class vessel. So because of that, they now have to go back and redo the RFP or make some changes to it. So my argument is, why not separate the two services and go ahead and start looking at the Nunatziavut service of freight and passengers for Northern Labrador, get that out the door, do what you need to do on the ferry RFP as soon as possible, and then get that one out the door because, we're really regressing in our transportation services here. There's more and more demands being put on traffic between Newfoundland and Labrador. We're bringing in more goods from the island than we've probably ever brought in our lives and shipping more out. Yeah. And we have more people moving about because as we've extended up on the highway system, people have become more mobilized. As we've become more engaged in industrial projects here, we see a lot more subcontracting and contracting going to the island, so there's a lot more mobilization of equipment. So all of these things are putting huge demands up on the service, and we've not been able to meet those demands. And it's become very frustrating for people who live and work in this area of the province.
Yeah, and I think that's a translated concern to various regions, especially when it comes to ferry service. When the government says it is strapped for cash for the obvious reasons, and a lot of people will have a big long list of demands that they have placed at the government's feet in this budget and budgets to come. When it's a cash issue, then some of those concerns are legitimate, aren't they?
It doesn't need to be a cash issue. When you're talking about the acquisition of assets like ferries, the government doesn't need to have the money in the bank to build vessels. Private companies are more than willing to build vessels. Private entities, they lease those vessels back. It's a very different way of doing business. Now, I know that the government is looking at public-private partnerships now.
That's where I was going, and that seems like if we don't go that way, then we are making a horrible decision on ferry service.
Oh, absolutely. Patty, if we don't look at public-private partnerships in this province, regardless of how some people might feel about it, you better get used to going with less service than you require, because there's no way that government, with the way the current markets is in oil and gas and mining and everything else, are able to come up with the cash to produce the capital assets that is required for things like ferries in particular. So these are disposable assets that government can do through public-private partnerships, lease back, provide first-class service to the people of the province, and cost the taxpayers less at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the P3s, the public-private partnerships, people dismiss them out of hand. Now, there are several areas of life where they might be the only legitimate way forward, and the ferry service is absolutely one of them. And people will look at them as the beginning of the end and two-tier healthcare and stuff. We don't have to go all in. We can make legitimate decisions on various issues about whether or not it's a good idea. And inside the ferries, I haven't heard one argument that makes any sense that poo-poos a public-private partnership for ferry service. Let's move on to a couple of issues, Yvonne, before we run out of time. What else do you want to go?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Just on that point, I mean, when you talk about public-private partnership in healthcare and public-private partnership in transportation, two very different things, like chalk and cheese. I agree. The other issue, of course, tomorrow, Saturday, I'll be in Labrador West at 11 o'clock. I'll be holding an open forum, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, at the Union Hall in Labrador City. And it's open to all people that are looking for employment in Labrador. I'm trying to get a handle on the number of displaced workers in Labrador West. I know it's in the hundreds, and I know that there are a lot of people in that area that are still looking to seek employment. This week in my meetings with Nalcor, I was assured that every Labradorian that was applying for jobs that were qualified for those jobs were going to get first chance for those jobs. So I guess this is the real test. And, we've been told now by Nalcor that there is a process to monitor this, and that if people are registering properly on the site, they're registering properly with the unions, and they have the qualifications, there's absolutely no reason that they should not be hired in Labrador or in Newfoundland. And so we want to make sure that that's happening, because, Patty, there's a lot of people working on this project still from outside of the province, a lot of people on some of these contracts from Alberta that not even the unions know who they are.
Right.
They're just brought in directly by the companies. So, we're going to do this forum in Labrador West tomorrow. We'll see how this pans out. I'm open to do the same type of forum in other regions of Labrador, maybe in Goose Bay in a week or so. We're going to see how this goes. But it's a big issue for us here right now, and I have been months and months dealing with jobs at Muskrat Falls, trying to find a way to get as many people in Labrador and in the province on the jobs in that site, because it's so important for us to ensure that where we have people that are qualified to do work, that they have the opportunity to do those jobs.
Yeah, the big problem is when we give out a contract in a subcontractor role and they bring a crew with them. We don't, and it's a Labrador concern as you speak to it, but I think it's a broad benefits agreement problem that we've got here too. And the same thing could be said by folks at Bullarm and down in Marystown and Long Harbour. So the way we approach these benefits agreements, they've got to be really airtight when it comes to the availability of the workforce here, regardless of the needs or the wants of the subcontractor. You know, you might want to bring your buddies who work for you all the time, but if we have a benefits agreement that is clear, then either accept the contract or don't bid on it. You know,
exactly.
And we can do more to be have far more control. Yvonne, I got to go to the break. I'll give you another 30 seconds to wrap.
Well, it's too bad because I have so many issues that I'd like to talk about. But yeah. I know, but I just want to say, because I called you last week on Hopedale, that in my meeting with the minister this week, I was very pleased to learn that they're willing to entertain a proposal. They're looking at doing what's required to make the repairs to the reservoir in Hopedale, and I think they've assessed the project at around $600,000. So hopefully when spring comes, the government and the town will be able to work together to get that work done, and I was very happy about that. And of course, the other issue this week that surfaced was in Black Tickle, the need for water in the community. And yesterday, through emergency service and the Red Cross, we were able to get 60 cases of water flowing in, and also be able to get the filters that was needed for the system to get it back in order. And all of that has now been delivered to the community. And I want to thank the people that were involved, the officials, the ministers, the emergency measures, all of those people for managing those two situations. And, you know, it was good to deal with them on this, and I have to say they were very cooperative.
And that's the good news and a good way to wrap up our phone call. Have a nice weekend. We'll talk next week on other issues of concern to you and everyone in Labrador.
Okay, Patty. I'm off to Northwest River today, so you have a good day, too.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Yvonne. Yvonne Jones is the Liberal Member of Parliament for Labrador.